So let's get you the live updates with Russian President Vladimir Putin touching down New Delhi yesterday evening, kicking off his crucial two-day state visit, his first since the Ukraine war that began in 2022. Now, in a strong diplomatic signal, Prime Minister Narendra Modi personally received the Russian leader at the Parliament airport, breaking protocol. India is calling this visit as a reaffirmation of one of its oldest and most reliable strategic partnerships. Now, as far as today's program is concerned, we'll get you the details as President Putin is expected to get a ceremonial welcome at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, and then he will pay homage to the father of the nation at the Rajghat. Prime Minister Modi and President Putin will then hold delegation-level talks, and he's also expected to address the Indian industry leaders at FICCI event and later meet President Draupadi Murmu before flying out. Now, Putin's 27-hour visit to Delhi carries extra weight as it comes at a time when India-US ties are facing their sharpest downturn in years. Now, with these developments coming at a time, as far as the pictures that came in, breaking protocol that we are looking at, the 23rd India-Russia Annual Summit, and he landed at Delhi's Palam Airport, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi received him with a hug and also a handshake. Let's connect with our reporters there on ground. We have Karishma and Mohit joining in. Both of you, good morning. We have a long day ahead. Karishma, as far as the president's visit is now concerned, of course, that meeting with the Prime Minister went on for a significant amount of time before he retired for the night at his hotel. What are we looking at today as far as his movement is concerned?
Well, yes, absolutely, Amita. There was about 100 minutes of informal meeting between the Prime Minister of India and Vladimir Putin last night, where Prime Minister also gifted him a Russian translation of the Bhagavad Gita, saying that the Gita has inspired millions across the world. Now, today is going to be a jam-packed day for Vladimir Putin as he heads out for a ceremonial welcome at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. He will be paying his respects at Rajghat as well, and then he will be having the diplomatic talks with the Prime Minister of India at the Hyderabad house, and then in the evening he has some other engagements after lunch with the PM as well, and then in the evening he will be returning to the Rashtrapati Bhavan as well for a dinner, for a banquet in his honor before departing for Russia again at about 9 p.m. tonight. So this is a 28-hour visit. When we talk about, the Russian president coming to India, and this, of course, is very, very monumental because he's coming to India after December 2021, and it just goes on to show the echoes of friendship between PM Modi and Vladimir Putin, given how PM was treated when he visited Moscow last year, and now the reciprocal gesture from PM as well for the Russian president.
Absolutely. As far as today's program is now concerned, we will be looking at a ceremonial welcome that would be given and accorded to the President of Russia by the President of India, Draupadi Murmu, accompanied by the top leadership as well. Srinjoy is also connected with us. Srinjoy, good morning to you as well, because we are going to talk about several of those aspects and multiple key sectors that we are looking at this bilateral meeting, because this is going to be a power-packed diplomatic mission right from Moscow. Accompanying Putin is a high-powered delegation of Russia's top ministers and officials, right from defense to finance to energy to agriculture, signaling strategic depth of India-Russia ties. Now, this isn't about optics. This is about a summit which is loaded with substance. As far as when it comes to the entire delegation is concerned, we are looking at, Srinjoy, every delegation, defense delegation, we are looking at when it comes to the leaders, the first deputy prime minister of Russia is there, their defense minister is there, their finance minister is there. We are looking at agriculture minister, economic development minister, health minister of Russia, all of them holding their meetings with their Indian counterparts, and this itself is a big development.
Significant too, because in the past, Russia and India have interacted in really three areas: defense, of course, civil nuclear issues, and space. There have been very little interaction in other areas. Now that Russia and India have decided to increase trade volumes to $100 billion, it becomes a very significant challenge. First of all, our current trade balance is at about $60 billion, $65 billion. Now that's going to come down dramatically because Indian oil imports from Russia because of US sanctions are going to come down. Now, how do you bridge the gap? How do you get to $100 billion? You need a whole of country approach. So it's not just going to be defense and S-400 and maybe, just maybe the Su-57, but it can be a lot more. As you rightly said, it can be agriculture, it can be in commerce, it can be in consumer durables. All of that will have to be taken care of. So it's a very challenging time, for, not only internationally. Let's not forget that Russia has been fighting a war for over 3 years and sustained enormous casualties. Now, regardless of that, here is Prime Minister who is in a position to actually do something. PM can and has told President Putin that the 21st century is not a time for war. The Indian government has said again and again, it is time both sides sat down and sorted things out at the negotiating table. Now, these are all issues that may have been discussed last night and will come up during the delegation level talks tomorrow or this morning. So the entire visit is going to be very important. Defense, of course, will be important, but trade and every other issue becomes important as well.
Well, exactly as far as when it comes to the Prime Minister of India is concerned, the leadership and the kind of relationship that he has, and he shares with both leaders of Russia and Ukraine, he probably is the only leader in the world who actually has good relations with both of the countries, at a conflict currently. But both of them have been, in a way, continuously been in touch with Prime Minister Narendra Modi whenever there is any development that happened at both sides. Of course, ending the conflict would be the topmost priority. But the yesterday's meetings that have been happening, Mohit, if you can give us a quick update, because we'll go ahead with today's meetings that are now lined up, because this is going to be a tight schedule for the Russian president. But the Russian defense minister is also here, and he's been emphasizing on deepening relationship between the two countries based on mutual trust, how both of the countries are united by many years of friendship and strategic cooperation.
Well, Amita, this is a very important visit by President Putin. Now, it comes at a time when we have seen that how US has imposed massive tariffs on India. And Donald Trump on umpteen occasions have been saying this, that India has been funding Russia and Ukraine war. And he has always stated that he would be the one who will stop the Russia and Ukraine war, and India has been funding Russia-Ukraine war because India has been importing oil from Russia. But India has made it clear that India will think about its countrymen, and the paramount of India will be of prime importance when it comes to trade deals. And Russia is not, Russia has always been an all-weather ally of India in terms of defense, in terms of trade. And we have always had a huge amount of trust on Russia, and perhaps that is why this visit is very important. And the messaging that the Prime Minister Narendra Modi gave, Amita, yesterday by going to the airport was to the world that you can have your differences with Russia, but we will think about our friendship, we will think about our ally, we will think about our trust, we will think about our nation's interest, and perhaps that is why that was not just to the people in India, not just in Asia, but all across the world, specifically to the United States. Now, when it comes to various deals, India would want that Russia should open their market for Indian goods, because as of now, we are in trade deficit when it comes to trade with Russia. We are importing too much from Russia, but Russia is not taking our goods so much. The exports to Russia are not that much, and perhaps that is why India would want the agriculture sector, the fertilizer sector, the pharmacy sector, the dairy sector of Russia to be opened up, and perhaps that is why various Russian ministers have met their Indian counterparts yesterday, and today is an important day. Now, shortly from now, in some time, we will see Vladimir Putin leaving for Rashtrapati Bhavan for ceremonial guard, post that he will be visiting Rajghat, and after that at Hyderabad House there will be bilateral between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Vladimir Putin, and post that
was up for a surprise there, as not expecting that Prime Minister Modi himself would be coming to the Palam airport last evening and personally will be welcoming him as he came down from that aircraft. But this visit is very important, and as it is happening after quite some time, and it is picking up on the visit of Prime Minister Modi to Russia in 2024, when the two countries set new agendas in the new environment. This visit is said to be both symbolic and a spectacle. But as far as personal relations are concerned, let's put out exactly the gift, and a very special one, that Prime Minister Modi has given to President Putin. Prime Minister Modi has now gifted a Russian translation version of the Gita, the Bhagavad Gita, and has called the scripture as an inspiration for millions. As Prime Minister Modi gifted the Russian edition of the Bhagavad Gita to President Putin during the Delhi visit, calling its teachings as an inspiration for millions, as both leaders highlighted their long-standing India-Russia friendship. And this is exactly, Karishma, what has been the Prime Minister's message, as well as she shared those pictures of gifting the Bhagavad Gita to President Putin.
Well, yes, absolutely, Amita. It just goes on to show how deep this India-Russia friendship is. In fact, when it comes to breaking protocol as well, traveling in the same car together, posting pictures, or, reaching the airport to receive his good friend Vladimir Putin, just goes on to show how deep this friendship between both the leaders of the nation is. In fact, they have met last on the sidelines of the SCO summit in Tianjin as well. After that, they've spoken and phoned for more than 4 or 5 times. So obviously, this has been a very, very close relationship. And this meeting, Putin's travel to India, was much, much anticipated, especially after PM Modi visiting Moscow in July 2024 last year. So obviously a lot is expected out of the series of meetings that will be held today in terms of agreements and what is expected to be signed, and it is only going to deepen this relationship between the two countries.
Right. But, symbolically also speaking, Shinjoy, as far as gifting of the Bhagavad Gita is concerned, now there are teachings that have been given by Lord Krishna to Arjun, especially with the ongoing war that was taking place back then of Mahabharata. Now, is this symbolic as far as this particular gift is now concerned?
The Bhagavad Gita is important at all times to everybody in all places. So it's only appropriate that this goes from Prime Minister Modi to Russian President Vladimir Putin. Naturally, it would have to be in Russian, because this is expected to be read by the Russian president. And it is entirely possible that there is a feeling that this could be translated into Russian, of course, which it has been and widely distributed in the country. But that apart, this also is a symbol of the friendship that Russia and India have had from the 1970s. Let's not forget, in 1971, when India needed the Soviet Union, when India needed help before the Bangladesh war, it was the Soviet Union that stood by India. It was the visit by Indira Gandhi and the meeting with Leonid Brezhnev in 1971 that helped India to fight and win the war in Bangladesh, because all those times there were those vetoes by the Soviets, and that helped India to finish the war. Now, these are things that India has not forgotten. So a gift of a Bhagavad Gita is a sign of friendship. A friendship not of today's and yesterday's, a friendship that goes back to the early 70s, maybe even the late 60s.
Yes, and this friendship has been cemented further as the Prime Minister has called this special gift, calling this scripture as an inspiration for millions, as he has gifted this Russian edition of the Bhagavad Gita to President Putin during his Delhi visit. And in the meantime, requesting all of our reporters to continue to be with us, because as we continue to highlight when it comes to the long-standing friendship or this dosti between India and Russia, we continue to get you the live and the comprehensive coverage with the biggest team on ground.